I'll start this video off with a warning because it's a faulty LED light, and if I turn it on now, it is going to start strobing and flashing, so strobing alert. I'm turning it on now, and the power supply has gone into that cycling bootstrap mode. It's pulsing on and off. Let's take the power supply back to the bench and see if we can fix that. We'll do that right now. Back at the bench, the power supply is open, and I'm going to turn the soldering on for a start here. I've already noted the value of the capacitors and I've ordered some. However, it's an odd size. Let me zoom down this. We'll take a look at the power supply in general. We have the incoming supply here. We've got a fuse, a metal oxide resistor, a little COM mode suppression choke, it looks, filtering, another COM mode suppressed choke, more filtering, and then the rectifier. And we've got inductors, which maybe they are part of the filtering again. But there's no smoothing the primary side. There's no electrolytic capacitor because this is a power factor correct power supply, which means it's riding the sine wave, pulsing this transistor with this little switch mode chip in the back, and then the output is being rectified by these two diodes here, and then charging these capacitors with more filtering. It's a very, very posh looking power supply. I mean, it is from a prominent branded light. So I ordered some of these capacitors, unfortunately the ones I wanted. It's an odd size, it's 20mm long, 10mm diameter, and I could find some like that, but I don't think these are high frequency. The information on the website was very, very vague, and they have to be high frequency, this application. Unfortunately, the ones that I could find that are the correct size are not in stock for an unknown length of time, and the only ones I could get that I know are high frequency rated, of the correct rating, are 5mm longer. And that means they're not going to fit in this unit because it does actually have to it fills right up inside you. The capacitors are almost touching the end of this. That's a bit disappointing. So I've got the option I could hold off for the other capacitors, or I could just basically, and I don't recommend this, cut a little channel because it's well clear of anything in the box, and if anything that's going to let a bit of heat circulate in here, and it is the low voltage end. I'm thinking I might do that, but first of all I want to start swapping components. Now there is another little electrolytic capacitor down here, can you see it? That is for the power supply for the chip itself, so I'm going to change that one as well because it's a good idea to change them all routinely. Let me just put a wee dot on the heatsink to remind me that this end is the negative. I'll put a dot there for those two, and then one here for this. Just a reminder, it might not be printed in the circuit board, but it probably is, but you just never know. It's safer. Better safe than sorry. So we'll start by getting some fresh solder. Fresh solder. Fresh solder, and flowing those solder joints again. So I shall reflow these solder joints, because the older solder may be a bit dry. I should have let the solder iron heat up a bit longer. It's just recently put on. And I'll try just popping that out from here just by pushing down it, but I may need to tweeze it from the other side. Yeah, that is not, that solder, this must be lead free. It's just not wanting to soften up. That's annoying. Right, we'll go back to that later on. Here is one of the capacitors. I could just let the solder iron heat up for longer because it does take a wee while to stabilise. And then I can grab that capacitor and wiggle it while heating the relevant pin at that time. These are just not, this solder is very hard. I think I might have to turn the heat up in the solder iron. That was not one to come out. The circuit board is marked with the capacitor orientation. This is good. I mean, I would have expected that, but you just never know. Let's reflow these joints. I'm going to turn this up a bit. I'm going to turn this up to, oh, not that far. I'm going to turn it up to 360, even though it's fairly warm here, so it shouldn't really be hesitant about desoldering these. It should be doing fine, but it's not. Crusty old lead-free solder. God, that is terrible. That is just not wanting to melt at all. That's horrific. What have they used here? They are quite old power supplies, so it may have been an earlier version of lead-free solder that was just unpleasant. I do see a very crusty joint over here. Hopefully this will mop off with the desoldering braid. So that's another capacitor out. And that just leaves this one. Yeah, it just doesn't want to flow at all. That's horrible. Ugh. This is why we don't use lead-free solder. Oh, but it saves the planet. Not really. It creates more landfill. But what can you do when non-technical people are making technical decisions? Yes, I know that somebody will be upset about that. They always are. I'm upset about it. The bad technical decision. So now I'm going to have to try and clean these holes out. I shall try a bit of desoldering braid with extra flux on it. And flick the solder iron as well. So here's the desoldering braid. Here is the flux. This is so stubbornly not melting this solder that it's actually making me think I want to just check the temperature of that iron is actually holding up properly. I think it is. I don't think it's that long since I did a sort of calibration on that. Ping. Let's scoop some of the solder off first. And then apply the desoldering braid for long enough to soak up all that solder. It'd be nice if it... Oh, it has gone all the way through. It has cleared the hole. Is this clear? Is this in focus? Hard to say. I've kind of not been having a great time with this current recording device. I should go back to the old one now. I've completely reset it, but it did garble its memory. And it required a complete system reset. Losing some images in the process, which was annoying. Ones that hadn't been backed up. And possibly some old video clips too. It doesn't matter, that's what happens. This is why you should back things up, but having said that, backing tons of videos up eats up storage space. Oh, that's also cleared the hole completely. Well, that's nice. And that just leaves these ones here, which I'll try and scoop some of the solder off in advance before putting the wick on. People say, why do I use the desoldering wick? I just kind of prefer it. I've got desoldering pumps and stuff like that, but when it comes to the crunch, the wick leaves a very, very clean surface. That's cleared all those holes. Right, tell you what, let's have another go at that little pesky capacitor tucked in here. So, heat it up for a good length of time, then try and push it out. You know what, I'm going to crop the leads short on that to make it easier to push out. This is where it'd be good getting access on the other side, but unfortunately it is right in a heatsink, and the fact it's in a heatsink is also a prime suspect for overheating that little capacitor and making it go high impedance. It has dropped out. Excellent. What value is it? It is a 22 microfarad, 50 volt by the look of it. Let me just grab a magnifying glass, because that's how old I am now. 50 volt, 22 microfarad, lovely. Excellent. So let's see if I can clean those holes. I do buy my desoldering braid in bulk, and I find it works much better if you put a little bit of flux in it. I'm not convinced this is pure copper, so it's not like destroying the environment or anything much, probably, by wasting copper. Precious copper. Right, where are we? That is those little pads there. Let's see if we can clean this up. And then I'll clean the flux off afterwards. Is that cleaned? It's not quite cleared that hole. I may have to use tricks. Let's try putting a bit of fresh solder in that. This is where it would actually be better bring it up closer to the camera on a box or something, just so you can get in and see it actually, what's happening. Let's mop that up again. I should have the high-speed 22 microfarad capacitors in stock. Is that clear? No, it's not. Right, I'm going to have to use dirty tricks here. Let me just grab something for dirty tricks. A cocktail stick, a wooden cocktail stick, which the solder will not stick to the wood. So that when you melt the solder by putting the solder iron on here, then we have to flow new solder on, and then you shove the cocktail stick through the hole. I don't know if that actually worked there. It actually leaves the hole clear, which it has in this instance. Excellent. Let me come in from the other side and just reheat that and do it again from the other side, just to make sure that's a nice wide hole. Okay, yeah, that's looking good. Right, one moment, I'm just going to grab a new 22 microfarad capacitor. 1 moment, please. I have found one. It's roughly the same size, I think. This is being, when I say low ESR, I mean low equivalent series resistance. It's needed because these power supplies, when it gets to the secondary side, operates at very high frequency, and this little capacitor on that side is also being exposed to that high frequency, so theoretically it should be a low ESR one as well. If you use a standard capacitor, it can't really handle the high frequency terribly well, and it can result in it basically just degrading very quickly. So I'm going to solder one of these leads, and then I'm going to carefully position that away from the heatsink. I've got my little finger stuffed up underneath. So let's solder that connection first. This is where it should be a lot easier to solder because I'm using traditional lead-based solder. Let me just reposition that with a screwdriver, just gently shove it into a suitable position. Now I've just soldered one lead. Don't force capacitors into position once you've soldered both, because that causes stress in the leads. And I'll solder the other lead. I shall just wipe the solder iron and have another go at that. It's such a tiny pad, the tip of the iron didn't go in properly. That should be better. Make sure it's not bridged. That would stop the power supply working completely. It would be trying to start, it just wouldn't ever start. This little capacitor here, incidentally, is the one that makes it blink because it, initially when you power this up, it charges that little capacitor until there's enough charge in it and high enough voltage to actually start this chip running that starts pulsing the transistor and transformer. And as soon as it does that, there's a little feedback winding here, probably this winding here, with this diode, and that doesn't just provide feedback to the chip, but it also powers the chip. And what happens if the output is fault? If that capacitor's faulty or the output's having problems, because this feedback winding reflects what's happening on the other side, it can cause the system to shut down. Then it starts over and over again. It just keeps trying each time, and each time it does it, it goes blink, 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 blink. Right. Let's use these tall capacitors. They are Panasonic, I believe. Does it say Panasonic? It doesn't really say Panasonic. Okay, that's fine. And the short lead will go towards the power supply here, the transformer. And I shall solder one lead and just make sure it's aligned before soldering the other one. Because sometimes you're putting these in, it can solder in at a funny angle. Let's just see how that looks. I shall just reflow that and tilt it over. There we go, I think that's alright. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And I'll flow that other solder joint then. Hopefully this is in focus. I keep saying this, I've just had so many bad experiences recently. And also this setup isn't really optimized for showing you great detail. It's more a sort of full bench view, like this. I'll go back a wee bit in fact, just in case I'm far too close. So let's crop those leads. Get the next capacitor, and it will go here. This one's actually slightly easier to hold in position while I solder it. Sometimes it's helpful just to tilt it in the opposite direction slightly, and then that means the lead is slightly proud and you got a bit of leeway for, oh, that is tight though. Those capacitors, they've been sized very tightly. This light, incidentally, is salvaged. It came out of a substation. It was in a skip. And it's a good quality light, so I thought it would be quite interesting to get it working again. It had emergency lighting functionality as well, but I stripped that out. So this one, the negative's going that way. And that should be it more or less. I should be able to hook it up and see if it works now. Before trying desperately to fit it back into this box, it won't fit in. I just know it's not going to fit in. That's fine. It may just require that slight snippage of the lid. Not recommended practice. Modifying a product out with its original design style. So that's that solder connection done. Excellent. That should hopefully be it fixed. We've changed all the primary suspects here, the electrolytics, which are usually responsible for that. I will say the solder looks a bit meh on this. It is just early era lead-free. I think the date in this for installation was 2015, which means it is quite old. I mean, that's 10 years old, but it's not been in use that long. Right, tell you what, I'm going to fit this in. Let's see how badly it fits now. Oh yeah, that fits very badly, yes. That's it, bottoming out, and there's no way I'm going to get the thing in, so I'm going to have to Dremel that out. But let's see if it works first, because there's no point Dremeling or making any effort until I've seen it work. One moment, please. And the result? Well, that didn't fix it. How incredibly annoying. Now, look at the circuitry here. There is a... Let's zoom down this a bit. There is that little electrolytic capacitor. Hopefully the ones I have in stock were good. But it has a Zener diode across it, but that is pumped up by this diode here. And I have come across situations that the primary side, the feedback circuit has been faulty. It's had bad soldering the windings, or this little diode has given problems. So I'm going to try whipping this diode off the board and replacing it with a 1N4148, which is a fairly fast diode. I think it's the fastest I've got here, not sure. I'll have a hunt around and see what I've got. But I'm going to try and swap one in there, and we'll see if that makes it work. One moment, please. Okay, update. I have changed the diode in here for a UF4003, which is an ultra-fast diode for the high-speed applications. And I've tried it out, and bingo, it works now. Oh, a little bit shimmer in those LEDs, but not significant. Certainly I can't see it to the naked eye. And the power is showing 40 watts on the button, which is the exact rating of this unit. So the answer there, and I've come across this before, it's not the output capacitors. I tend to suspect output capacitors because they are a prime suspect, particularly when they're sort of bulgy and they're sort of old. Sometimes it can be the little bootstrap capacitor, but now, on more than one occasion, I've come across this little bootstrap diode that comes from the little feedback winding to that capacitor. It measures all right, but you change it for a new diode and suddenly it all starts working again. That's very strange. Maybe it just dissipates a bit of heat, although you wouldn't think it's under major stress. But anyway, that's now fixed and it's not going to fit in the case. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get another power supply, similar one to this, that's got the exact same problem. I'm just going to change that diode now, and I'm going to see if it works. And I'll let you know in the description down below if it is what solved the problem, that power supply too, just with its original capacitors, because then it will fit in the case as standard. But that's the fix. Frustrating. All that work, and really, having said that, there's no harm changing the capacitors, because that means that the job is done, that those capacitors are going to last a good length of time now, because they are brand new capacitors. But there we have it. It's fixed, although not in the way I was expecting.